Welcome to Mystica TV, the channel about healing knowledge, interviewing high vibe personalities. In this talk with our great guest Lynne McTaggart, we are diving into a subject that a lot of people have experienced in the past years. It's about loneliness, it's about disconnection, and it's about if you sometimes sit at home and think, where are all the people gone that I've had a few years ago around me? I was such a social person, but what's happened? So, that's why I'm very curious to hear something from a very powerful personality, a scientific pioneer, a journalist, and a spiritual personality who is here at Mystica TV. Welcome, Lynne McTaggart.
Thank you so much. It's great to be here.
Thank you for being here. And have fun with this talk. Okay, Lynne McTaggart, we're talking about loneliness and disconnection, but also about connection. You have developed a lot of very great methods to help people with this. What do you recommend?
Well, first of all, people have to understand that we need community more than we need to breathe. The evidence shows that competition is possibly the worst thing for us, and so is individualism, extreme individualism. All of the evidence shows that community protects us against stroke, heart attack, even the common cold. Even studies looking at the Japanese, when Japanese transplant to America, remember a lot of Japanese people smoke, for instance, a big risk factor for heart disease, but they don't get heart disease in the old country, and when they transplant to US, some do and some don't. And when scientists have looked deeper, they've found that it doesn't matter what they eat. It doesn't matter whether they have tofu and sushi or Big Macs and fries. What matters most of all is whether or not they maintain the close community ties they had in the old country. And then they don't get heart disease. So community is that backdrop we need. As you say, there is a huge fraying of the social contract. Robert Putnam from Harvard University, who wrote this book in America called Bowling Alone, which was all about the fraying of the social contract in the US, so that people were bowling by themselves. It's a big social event. He found if you join a group next year, and you don't belong to any now, whether it's a book group, a religious group, or a Power of 8 group, you will have your chances of dying. That's how powerful communities are. That's how necessary they are. So with this loneliness crisis that has been exacerbated by COVID, people were forced to lock down. They became more isolated. Children, young people, they've shown it really has even affected their brains. So the antidote to that, in my view, is small groups. And that was one of the key pieces of creating Power of 8 groups. Small groups that would meet together. I have one, we meet every Monday, 4 o'clock my time. They're not in the same country as me, I'm in the UK. Most of them are in the US, and most of those are in California. So there's an 8-hour time difference, but we still meet every week and we send healing together, and we have each other's backs. We are dear, dear close friends. This is an intention family, and it's what I find so strengthening and helpful to get over loneliness. We can use technology, use Zoom to connect with people regularly, to create a group. And it's the group, and it's the healing intention, and it's the altruism that is the biggest antidote.
So let's imagine we are a 17-year-old who has really suffered all those past years during the lockdowns, during COVID, sitting at home, having a lot of friends before, but now having mostly the smartphone. And of course there's school and there's maybe sports, but to really get close to dive deep into a conversation, to open the heart and also tell secrets that are personal, that you make yourself vulnerable with if you talk about them. It's a very big challenge for a lot of, especially young girls, as I can observe. I have children in that age, so I can really see how it's sometimes not very easy for them to get back to community. And I think it's a tragic thing, because in our society, the women are the center of families. They are the ones who connect everybody with everything, and they're the network, the spider. Maybe you know that big artwork of Louise Bourgeois, that big spider. So that's Mother. That's the name of that artwork. There has to be a big healing for our field, and you're a specialist of fields. So what are we going to do about all those lonely young ladies?
Well, I think there has to be a big push by governments, by schools, by organizations to get people and young people meeting again in person. After school activities, special events where they get to connect in person. And also, I think there has to be something that really limits smartphone use during school days. So they're forced to communicate in person. And by doing that, they'll start getting back to connecting together. And they can also see the model of their parents. Their parents need to start doing that too. Their parents need to go back to ways of getting together in groups, book groups, religious groups. People may be turning against religion, but it had one great factor, which was community. So getting back to meeting with people, recognizing this isn't just a nice thing to do. This is an essential thing to do. We need this for our health.
So let me interrupt for a little second. You offer a course for you at home if you want to try the power of 8. There's a course that Lynn McTaggart offers. And the homepage that you can find this course at is called lynnmctaggart.de. It's in German language, and you can experience this technique. Just dive into it and try. So, Lynn, let's continue. You also made work with a very violent fields, areas in cities where there's a high criminal factor. And what did you do to improve that?
Okay, so one of the things that we tried with intention experiments, the experiments that I began in 2007, after doing seeds and water, I got tired of all of these little types of experiments, and I said, let's do something huge. Let's lower violence somewhere.
Let me just interrupt, sorry. The seeds and the water, for you to explain, that was a work where people set their intention, for example, on seeds or on water, and something changed in the seeds, the way they grew or the quality of the water. So please continue now. Okay,
so I wanted to do something bigger. I wanted to lower violence in violent and war-torn areas. First one we did was in Sri Lanka, which had 25-year war. And when we did our week-long intention, it was 10 minutes a day for 8 days. The government during that very same week won decisive battles that turned around the entire course of this 25-year intractable war. Within a few months, the war was over. Now, did we do this? You know, a lot of factors are present when when there's a war and any change. It could be the weather, it could be anything else. But it was very, very compelling. So we started doing other ones, and one of the ones we did was to choose the most violent place in America, which is St. Louis, Missouri. So we decided to choose the most violent section of St. Louis, which is called Fairground. And with each of these experiments, with Sri Lanka, with St. Louis, we worked with a scientist called Dr. Jessica Utz, who is a professor of statistics at the University of California, to do the measurements for us. We did the intention 6 days this time, 10 minutes a day, for Fairground. And Then we got the data from 3 years before of violent crime and property crime to 6 months afterward, after our intention. We compared violent crime in St. Louis as a whole, the neighborhoods around Fairground and Fairground. All of them had been going up. St. Louis as a whole continued to go up. The neighborhoods around continued to go up. And Fairground, the violent crime went down by 43%. So that was a pretty unassailable one.
Very interesting. And also for me, I think it's so encouraging that you have this technique and you have the book, the field, and also the Power of 8. But it's not something abstract, some experiment in the US. Everybody can do that. I would like to say that to the audience. And I think it's a very big and powerful message of this talk, that we inform the people. You at home, you can just go together with 7 others and set intention on something that you really want in an altruistic manner. Let's say help the ill neighbor next door, and just 10 minutes of a very focused intention. This is your experience, this is what you found out in your books, helps to really improve life for other people. And it's just that easy.
It's that easy. It takes some technique, and that's the part I teach. It's what I write about in my book, The Power of 8. It's in my courses, etc. People need to know some things about focusing their mind, heart state, etc. But it is ultimately that easy, absolutely. And it can also bring people, polarized people together. And that was my experience with probably the most polarized people on the planet.
Which were?
Israelis and Arabs.
Tell us about it.
Okay, so I had an opportunity to do one intention experiment on using special equipment that enabled me to put cameras in 9 different locations. So working with Dr. Salah Al-Rashid, who is like the Deepak Chopra of the Middle East, who has a big following, we put cameras in 8 different locations in different Arab cities, in Saudi Arabia, in Kuwait, in Jordan, Oman, etc. And the 9th camera we put in an audience of Israeli Jews. So this equipment was a bit like a mini Eurovision song contest. I could talk to them, each of those conference rooms or auditoriums, they could talk to me and all the rest of the people. So we did an intention to lower violence in Jerusalem, the old city, which was experiencing a lot of violence at the time.
When was this around about?
End of 2017.
Okay.
Before this current skirmish, this current war. So we did the intention to lower violence in that area, and then I started calling on the people from both sides. How was it for you? And I had to broker the entire experiment because both sides, the Arabs were not talking to the Israelis were not talking to the Arabs. It was, it was difficult putting it all together. But right after the intention, the Arabs started sending love to the Israelis, saying, your God is my God. The Israelis were saying, we love you, brothers and sisters. And all of this happened. It was a big love fest. And it was extraordinary. And I'd seen the same when I did an experiment on the 10th anniversary of 9/11. I had Arabs and Americans do it together. And again, they were forgiving each other. They were sending love to each other. You're my brother from the other side. Your God is my God. So I started to recognize that this altruistic activity of coming together and this group intention, this kind of hyper mind that we create when we come together as a group, sending a loving altruistic intention, changes the participants as well as it changes the target. It has a mirror effect, and the healers themselves get healed.
So wow, you caused me goosebumps at the moment. But that's a very, very great message. So you at home, you don't have to sit anymore in front of the newspaper and say, oh my God, so many wars. When is this Ukraine war gonna end? It's just build a group, and set 10 minutes of intention, and of course use the right technique. I didn't mention that before. So go to that website, lynnmctaggart.de. There's the course you can dive into. And for me, there's some point about the human body that is very interesting for me, because a lot of people eat very well, so the body is clean, they drink good water, and much more people don't do that. And what is your experience? Do they have the same power to set intention, or do you think that let's call it the cleaned body, the cured body, the body who is living with great water in nature, whatever, does it have more power? What is the secret about this?
Well, I'm a big advocate for natural food and eating healthily, etc. I have a magazine I've run for many years with my husband called What Doctors Don't Tell You, and it's about alternative medicine and living well. So I'm an advocate of that. But what I've recognized over the years is there are many people who are living very clean food, but have very toxic thoughts. And so they can't help themselves. And they need to have a clear out of their toxic thoughts before they can really heal. Because my feeling is now that the greatest medicine we have are our thoughts and group thoughts. The greatest medicine to heal is changing the way we view the world and the way we view each other. So I think that to me is tantamount. But I would always recommend, for a long and healthy life, eat well, eat good food, don't eat processed food, cook from scratch.
Yeah, there's always exceptions. I mean, you can have people, what kind of figure they ever have, having very strong mind, very powerful consciousness or not. So we cannot stereotype here, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, everybody should eat well, but they also need to do a detox of their toxic thoughts too.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. So let's just go back to that Arab-Israeli experiment. Was it a risk to undertake that? Did you have political things that you had to overcome?
It wasn't a risk. And actually, we got a lot of good press in Israel and Arab in Kuwait. Great. I think a member of parliament in Kuwait wrote about its small endeavors like this that can change the world and change the political situation. And they said the same thing in Israel at the time. But I have had issues of trying to bring this. I was banned in one of the Arab countries at one point with one set of ministers who didn't like this kind of work. But I think generally it's accepted because they don't believe it. They don't believe it can be this powerful. And they don't understand my work as being ground up work, where it's from the ground up. I'm not talking about changing politics. I'm talking about changing human hearts. And one of the most amazing things of all about these intention experiments, and I also want to let you know, my intention experiments are free for everybody to join. If you can understand English, I have people from all over the world who take part and I announce new intention experiments on my English website, lynnmctaggart.com. And I also run monthly now intention circles where people can just get together for us all to intend for peace in Gaza, in Ukraine, now in Pakistan and India and elsewhere. We just do once a month. We don't measure it. But I want also people to understand that there's this huge ripple effect. This is the thing that really interests me. Let's say, just for argument's sake, 30,000 people take part in one of these experiments. Let's say for Israel and Gaza, which may not end the war, but here's what happens. If 30,000 people intend for it, there's evidence from a Yale University sociologist called Nicholas Christakis, who measures social networks and says happy people are more likely to have happy friends, not because they self-select happy people to be with, but because of the natural spread of happiness. And the same goes with lots of things, including generosity and altruism. When Jack does a kindness to Peter, Peter is more likely to do a kindness to Paul, Paul to George, George to Sarah. And so it goes on in a huge ripple effect. And each of them keep being kinder and more generous to people as they go along. So let's just do some math. Imagine 30,000 people are doing this experiment, and this altruistic experiment, and they go away full of love and peace and change. Let's say they know 150 people, the likely average number of people in your social network. They could affect 4.5 million people. That is half the population of Israel. If they all know 600 people, which is what the most recent idea about how many people we know because of social media, etc., in our network, they would be able to affect 18 million people. So what I think about is not necessarily healing the target. I think about the greater effect I might have is on individual human hearts continuing to feel peace in their lives and going forward. And when we have surveyed participants in intention experiments, which I've been doing since 2008, about 40% say they have more peaceful lives. They make up with estranged partners or children. And about half say they feel more love for everyone they come in contact with. They also experience physical healings. It's that powerful. And we've measured before and afterward, and we've found with special equipment measuring participants before and afterward that their sympathetic nervous system calms down. And all of us are on sympathetic nervous system dominance, fight or flight, freak out all the time. And that's calmed down. And what's going on in our world. So that's where I see it, is bottom up, one at a time, coming together, and then their lives being changed, and they going on and changing everybody in their circle. And from there, it's a bottom-up revolution.
So just to summarize, if you do something in a group for, let's say, some overall subject, for example, Israel-Gaza, during that work, you heal yourself sub or unconsciously. You don't have to do anything about it. The energy just flows back to you. This is a very fascinating effect that I have experienced also before. So this is very recommendable for people. If you sit at home, if you feel like there should be more friends, but you don't know how to do it, and the way to go out into groups seems stuck or not possible, there's always a possibility maybe for trying to help somebody or a bigger subject. And you can also find those people online, do Zoom conferences, connect with others that you haven't known before. You can find them in social media and then make a group, and maybe somebody else gets help.
Absolutely. Find a group and a common intention, and you yourself will experience a fast track to the miraculous.
Thank you so much, Lynette McTaggart, for this impulse, for this really powerful idea that you gave us, and your books. And yeah, I wish you good luck for your work. And I'm very curious about the new experiments and about the new book that is coming up. Do you want to talk a little bit about the book?
I can't talk about the book yet, but I will soon. Let's put it this way. It's about an energy that is both healing and helps us to a kind of divine state, and it's been hiding in plain sight.
We're curious. Thank you so much, and thank you very much for being here at Mystica TV at Home. We hope to be back with you for the next talk. Bye-bye.